Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mike Jones here. Just finished a little studio recording with Jacob, and awesome performance out here, you guys. I can't wait to share that. But still have to come on, go live, and give you guys some balance and some business and a little bit of love for Dr. James Spencer and the Imbalance team. So what I've got queued up for us today is the peg leg talk that Dr. Spencer did at the PGA show. It's coming on 3 years ago now, but it's still super valuable. It's geared towards golfers, but I think it will be applicable for skateboarders, surfers, and just everyone wanting to enjoy everyday life. So enjoy this presentation from Dr. Spencer at the PGA show. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
We are going to start a 12 o'clock session here. Today we're talking about the peg leg. And I don't even know what that is, but James does. And I'm going to bring James Spencer up, our chiropractor, to talk us about some functional movement and understanding how to move better in the golf swing. James, come on up. All right.
Dave, thank you, man. All right, guys. Hey, welcome. So today, the peg leg, all right? This is something interesting. When I look at a lot of people around, the peg leg is something that stares at me, all right? And I'll explain a little bit of what I mean by that. But first, all right, if we're talking peg legs, we better be talking pirates, all right? So a little trivia question for some bearded kettlebell swag up here, all right? First question I'm going to pose. Why do pirates wear patches? Anybody? Why do pirates wear patches? Anybody have a guess? Robert, how about you? Well, it does. I agree with you, man. Here's the reality, though. A lot of it was for adaptation, which is a lot of this talk. For pirates at night to adapt to whether it was a cruise ship that they were trying to steer or a pirate ship, right? Or we were at battle, they would have the patch over the eye to adjust to the darkness very quickly, all right? And all of this is adaptation. That's what we're looking for with the peg leg. It's creating awareness, creating movement, all right? So Robert, I appreciate you speaking out, my man. Little clean canteen for you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, let's pose one more question. Of the peg leg, pirates would be given money if they gave up a piece of their anatomy. How much do you think it costs for a peg leg? Anybody have any ideas? Mitch? $300,000. Pretty impressive, right? I might give my left leg for $300K. All right? Just because I like you, baby.
Yes.
All right, so 300,000, right? Speaking of that, when we look at a lot of the research that the CDC has done on hips, all right, in 2000, we went from 135,000 hip replacements to 300,000 in 2010, all right? If we don't address the hip anatomy or the arthritis or the hip replacement, things are going to get worse. Of that same stat, 45 to 55-year-olds had an increase in 205% as far as hip replacements go. 75-year-olds and older had a 92% increase. All right, this is concerning when it comes to hip anatomy and the overall longevity of a golf career. Okay? This is something that I want to educate people on and pay attention and address and create awareness of this stuff. All right? A 2016 study done by Murphy and Moss et al. They concluded that the United States spent $42.3 billion in 2009 just on hip and knee arthritis. That's a lot of money. All right, and as a medical provider, this is something that we have to look to and address and create some awareness to our golfers. All right? So when we look at these statistics, this is something that we need to educate our clients on, A, so they can play golf, and B, so we can all get paid and be happy. All right, that's the importance of a lot of this, is make sure our clients are happy and make sure they can do what they want for the longevity of their career. Okay? So when we think about the peg leg, let's break the body down into the joint by joint approach like TPI does. All right, so the ankle should be mobile, correct? Knee should be stable. Hips mobile, low back stable. Mid back mobile. All right? Now when I see somebody in the quote unquote peg leg, when I think of this is my opinion of the peg leg, is people have these locked out knees, they're falling forward, and they have this hyperextended pelvis here. Okay? And when we evaluate these people, we find that typically the joints are stiff that should be mobile. Okay? And if we're putting stiff joints that should be mobile on now stable segments, something's going to have to give. That may be our knee arthritis. That may be our hip replacement. All right, does this make sense? This is something we need to address because things will get worse if we don't look at this. Okay? So, with the peg leg, I'd like to bring somebody up a little bit and show them my evaluation or my opinion of what this peg leg looks like and how we can fix it. I would like to give you a few examples, all right? And of these examples, we'll show you how to fix it and then give you a few exercises to take home for your clients and athletes. So Mitch and I have been working together for a while at this point, and actually of the whole quote-unquote peg leg, this is something him and I have been discussing for a while now. All right? The half kneeling position is what I use to evaluate to see is the joint mobile or stable, and what do we need to work on. All right? And particularly with Mitch, he had a little bit of this low back issue because the hips weren't working well. He had a little bit too much of this pelvic tilt, which will limit our hip range of motion. All right? Especially if we're on that backswing. We need the trail legs to get IR and ER, internal and external rotation. If they don't move, we know lower back is going to become the problematic area. And that's very similar to what happened with Mitch. All right, so let's have Mitch go down in this half kneeling position. Go ahead, face me. So just basic to evaluate if somebody's sitting in too much pelvic tilt or not is I just say, let's lift the front foot. Are they able to do that? Foot flat if you would. Go ahead, lift the front foot. Good, not bad, right? Pretty good there. So now, Mitch, go ahead, lean into it like you used to do. More forward into it. Yep. Now try and lift your leg. Right, not as easy. So this evaluation / exercise is self-limiting. If that person's sitting in this half kneeling position and they're so far forward, they physically can't lift the leg, well then the hip is not aligned. And something will get beat up, either the hip or the low back. So what I like to look at is, does that hip sit over the knee? And does that sit over the ear? Okay? So looking at Mitch here, he's doing a great job. We see hips stacked over the knee, shoulders stacked over the hip, and the ear stacked over the shoulder. All right, that is a good position vertically for the spine there. Okay, that's also a very good position for the hip to sit in the socket. We're not relying on the psoas or the ligaments of the hip for stability here. Here we're relying a lot more on the nervous system as well as true activation and awareness of that athlete. Okay? So one thing that him and I personally worked on is activating the glute. Just like when we're standing here and we stand out on a locked out leg, this is the peg leg. Okay? This is passive stability. We're relying on too much of the ligaments and too much false stability, creating this pseudo activation. And when you rely on that too often, now certain muscles start to tend to activate, either more or less, for the ones that really should be. Okay? So from this position, keeping that vertical alignment is how I start to look at things. All right? Go ahead, turn face me if you would, Mitch. From the back side, I'm going to give you a quick example. Okay? When I was evaluating this player for a major league organization, he was having chronic groin tears. And I said, okay, well, let's just put him in the half kneeling position and see how it looks. He'd been doing a bunch of corrective exercises in the half kneeling position, but one thing that I saw that they missed, which is very, very important, heel placement. He was having chronic groin tears, and his heel would instantly collapse here. Well, that's going to change the position of how the hip is sitting in the socket. He's actually co-activating that adductor or that groin muscle, which is being overused or overworked. Well, he's not going to fix that unless we get true good glute activation. And he didn't even know how to activate the glute, which was very, very interesting to my liking. So I said, hey, let's tactile stimulus. Just go ahead and squeeze that guy I touched. And boom, he activated it. Instantly, the heel rotated out, that chilled out. All right, after about 3 days of doing that exercise only and creating that awareness to him, no more groin pain. So we said, all right, let's stabilize that position. Let's keep it there. Okay? Mitch, go ahead, face me again. Let's talk about another lacrosse athlete I had. High school kid, chronic hamstring tears. Okay? When I evaluated him in this half kneeling position, go ahead, lean forward there, Mitch. Just lean forward onto this hip. Good. This is the position he was sitting in when doing chops and lifts. Well, we could see how it's going to recruit a lot more of this and a lot more of this. Plus, the glute was flaccid. Nobody likes a flaccid glute, let's be honest. All right? Go ahead, sit back. So just creating this awareness to the athletes, they can do this at home. They don't even need me, right? Whether it be a mobility exercise or a stability exercise. Creating this awareness is very, very valuable for your athletes. You don't even need to be present, all right? So what I would like to do is take Mitch through a few of my favorite half kneeling exercises. We're going to show you a few of mobilities. We're going to show you a few of stabilities, all right? Mitch, go ahead, face the crowd if you would. Go ahead, open that left knee up. Good, so this half kneeling position, right? Our goal here is mobilize the hip and ankle. All right, from here, Mitch, what I want you to do, keep this knee tracking over your toes. We're going to go ahead and lean that left knee forward and back. All right, give me about 5 reps here. Where do you feel it?
Right out back.
There we go. All right. So a joint that may be stiff due to tissue tightness is now getting mobilized. Not only that, when he leans into the hip here, go ahead, do it again. Look how we get a stretch in both groins. We're teaching rotation of the hips at that standpoint. Just like on our backswing, we need a certain amount of rotation, especially if we're going to produce power on the downswing. Okay? Go ahead, switch sides. Let's see if he has an asymmetry side to side. One thing you will notice when athletes do this exercise or clients do this exercise, this knee is going to go in. That is path of least resistance. All right, that is a very common compensation that we need to work on. Be aware of that because it changes the stretch and it changes the dynamics. All right. Now, let's progress him a little bit. That's our mobility exercise right there. Okay, we could load that with a kettlebell up front and create more of a stretch with that. All right. Go ahead, face the crowd again. Bring that leg forward. So when training the half kneeling position, I say, all right, lift the front foot. Very good. You see how that forced him to sit back on the hip. That is the proper joint alignment there. All right, if we train that via the nervous system and via the musculoskeletal system, now he can transfer that energy on the downswing. Now he has the rotation or the mobility to get that access. All right. From here, I like to test eyes open, eyes closed. And here is the big challenge for him. All right. Too often we rely on vision for input to the brain. Our vision is the default system when everything else fails. The first time an athlete tries a new exercise, the first thing they do is look at the floor. They physically have to see it. That will compute into the brain. So I like to challenge that. I say, all right, for 5 seconds, just hold your eyes closed with a good glute activation. What you may see is this sway, or this little bit of like a pulse. Go ahead, open. That pulse is neurological learning. That's what we're looking for. Let's challenge eyes open, eyes closed. Okay? Go ahead, switch legs. Good, and you may see a difference. You may not see a difference here. If you looked from the side, go ahead, Mitch, open your eyes and turn to the left. Close your eyes again. Watch here as all of his body weight starts to transfer this way. Right? So he defaults back to what is that habitual pattern? Right? So this is just a good general exercise for him as far as an awareness or a warm-up. All right, go ahead, open up. Go ahead, face the crowd again. After vision, we also have to challenge the joint proprioception. What that is my eyes are closed, my arm is moving around in space, and my brain can compute where that is in space. Same thing we're doing here. All right, let's challenge a little bit of proprioception. So from this position, I'll have him do head nods. Look down visually, look up visually. Although it seems simplistic, very difficult. All right, now let's add the head rotations. Go ahead, look at me. Very good, man, very good. And you see how the body shifts here. This is learning. Good. Very good. Very good. And I guarantee if we ask him some input, he's going to be learning. He's going to be making these connections, these mind-muscle connections. All right? From here, let's challenge a little bit of stability. All right? Let's go ahead. Let's have you go ahead, arms out in front. Good. So if we had a cable machine like we do behind us, we could do a Pallof press from this position, correct? If you don't have that, here's another way to challenge your athlete. Go ahead. What I want you to do, Mitch, push your hands to the floor. Good. Relax. So from this position, it's going to activate his core, his glutes, and his lats. That's going to interconnect upper and lower extremity, front and back, all as one unit. Think of that. If you have a beautiful house with a terrible foundation, that beautiful house can crumble. Same thing with this pillar. That is the foundation. Front and back, upper and lower, all as one unit is the foundation. That stability allows us to generate power and force. All right? My next favorite challenge with that, what we do is we'll have them go here into a halo position. Here into a halo position. Again, if we had a kettlebell, it'd be perfect, but we don't need one. All right, so give me a pseudo halo. Very good. Now turn to the side. Watch this area in particular. Make sure they don't default to that hyperextended pelvis, because that will change the alignment of the hip. Very good, Mitch. So, last exercise here that we could use. All right, we could do a kettlebell press, but what I like to do, challenge with perturbations. All right, this creates reactive stability. It's not forced or rigid, it's reactive, it's flow. All right, it's learning. So from here, what I do is I say, all right, athlete, I'm just going to tap you side to side, forward and backwards. Don't let me move you. All right, own this position. So we'll challenge them. 30 seconds. All right, you ready? Here we go. Good. You see how the body reacts. This is his brain finally learning, okay, this is reactive stability. Think about that like on a downswing. Right? That's reactive stability that we use to generate force. Same thing here, turn to the side. Watch how when we do these perturbations, his body language changes. Watch how he defaults to his old pattern. Beautiful, baby. I've been teaching him well. Good, good. So from this half kneeling position is a starting point. It's not the end point, all right? But what we can get is mobility and stability. We can help restore function to the hips and reduce injury rates. The whole goal of my talk here was not to make Mitch stay on one knee for 25 minutes. My goal is honestly to educate you guys like TBI has done. It's having the team around you. I don't want you as a golf fitness professional to do what I'm doing. I don't want you guys are good at teaching the swing. You keep doing that. Let's build a team or a connection around each other to refer. Let's have a strength coach like Mitch. He can handle the strength, I handle the medical, you handle the swing. It's about the team aspect that really creates a good growing environment for our clients and for our athletes. All right, Mitch, appreciate it, baby.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
So to finalize that, what questions do we have on A, the peg leg, or B, the half kneeling position?
How do you redress this for people with knee joint pain or knee replacements?
So good question. He said, how do you regress this exercise for anybody with knee or hip replacements or pain? All right. From a model, a developmental model, the growth of what we would want to do is not so much in a half kneeling position. If it's too much, we can go to a tall kneeling position. If that's even too much, what we can do is we can start them out on their back. We can still get input to the hips from certain positions there. Okay? The goal is start somewhere and build on that. This is a journey, remember that. We're always learning about our body, we're always learning about movement, and it's always changing. The more you can create this connection, the better off you're going to be for the long term of you, your health, and your clients. Thank you guys for having me out. If you have any other questions, I'd love to hear them.